So, The Last Duel is the latest film directed by Ridley Scott, and it stars Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who helped co-write this thing. Also Adam Driver and Jodie Comer. And it's about a woman played by Jodie Comer who accuses this man played by Adam Driver of sexually assaulting her. And Matt Damon decides to basically have a duel with him. And basically it's the last sanctioned duel as evidenced by the title. So the trailers for this movie, at first it seemed alright, but I guess because, for me, it's more about the power of the music. The music of this worked much more than the trailer did. And I was kind of intrigued by the whole angle of this movie. Based on the trailer, it's going to show a lot from her perspective, even though you have all these big stars like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in it. So I was also curious as well. Ridley Scott is a mostly reliable director, maybe not so much these days. I mean, he did Alien Covenant, for crying out loud. But, and also despite his age, he's still doing like 2 movies a year. He also has House of Gucci coming up. And I was still intrigued by this movie going into it. And there's parts of me that want to really like this movie. And I do really like this movie. But there's a lot of things that are keeping me from really loving it. So anything that works. Well, the acting is pretty good for the most part. Particularly from Adam Driver. He's really good in the movie. Adam Driver to me is a really reliable actor. Put him in anything, and he'll do the best. He's really good. I really liked him in this movie. Jodie Comer, I thought she was really good in this movie too. Also, I really liked the themes that were kind of worked with this movie. They kind of address a lot of things. It's a very long movie, and I'll talk about that. They address, toxic masculinity, about how women aren't really believed, even in that time. And there's always this whole thing about, questioning and like how things play out and like how people view those things played out. And it does work. Obviously, it's supposed to be a parallel to various things that have happened in the last few years, and it works. The production design and costume design are also really good too. They are very well done as well. And I also really like the angle it does where it's like, okay, I've seen this before, but it works where it's like everyone has their own interpretation of the events. Mainly Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer, they have their own interpretations of events. And you can kind of see like the little moments where it's like, okay, this is obviously something that didn't happen according to this person, and this happened to this person, but didn't happen to this person. So even though I've seen that before where it's like, okay, here's my viewpoint of the story, it actually works in a movie. I thought it was really effective. Unfortunately, that's kind of a problem because I kind of believed it was all about Jodie Comer's character. So to kind of have it about, there's a viewpoint from Matt Damon, a viewpoint from Adam Driver, and a viewpoint from her. It kind of felt disappointing compared to the trailer, unfortunately. But I get why it kind of worked because they're the two that are mainly dueling. So it makes sense, but I'm disappointed by it. Also, the movie is both way too long and a very slow burn. This movie is a little over 2.5 hours. And it feels that way. It didn't need to be this long. It didn't need to be 2.5 hours. I would have been fine with you could have cut like 20 minutes from this movie, and I think it would have been perfect. But no, this movie needs to be 2.5 hours long. But it's also a very slow burn. I think most people who go into this movie are going to be a little disappointed. It's like, okay, I'm going to see this movie with all this action because, Gladiator, and Ridley Scott directed Gladiator and all that, and it's going to be really awesome. Well, most of the movie is about them talking. So that may disappoint a lot of people, even though it's like really interesting to see like the differences between all these characters. It might disappoint a lot of people. Also, even though Matt Damon and Ben Affleck co-wrote this movie together along with, I forgot the woman's name, it doesn't matter. But they're miscast in this movie, I feel like. Like, Adam Driver's perfect, Jodie Comer is perfect. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, not so much. I feel like they've outgrown these roles. I feel like if they could have gotten someone who was closer to Adam Driver's age, would have been perfect. But no, they just feel miscast. And I kind of just feel like, that's Matt Damon and that's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck in this movie is especially not good. Like, Matt Damon at least tries. Ben Affleck, he tries, but his performance comes off as awkward. He's the king. And it's just kind of funny to me. I don't know why. It just came off as like, like you see those movies where it's like, there are a lot of really good performances and then there's that one person, like, take, Les Mis. You had Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway, a bunch of people in that movie were really great, and then you had Russell Crowe. So it was kind of like that. Thankfully, there's no singing. Also, I just feel like it may be too niche. Like, again, I mentioned people are probably going to be really disappointed. They want like a movie with a lot of action and a lot of fighting. It's not here. But if it's a movie where, if you're intrigued by like, the themes, like, the themes of toxic masculinity and about feminism and all that. It's definitely worth a watch. Just kind of know what you're getting into. This movie's over 2.5 hours. So you kind of just need to know, like, what you're getting into before going in. So The Last Duel, even though a couple of performances are really good, the production design overall is really good, and the themes really do work, and it does have an interesting angle as how it's presented. There's some things that just keep it from being good, like the length, the pace, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, and again, just maybe if there was a different trailer for this movie, I probably would have liked it a lot more, but right now, I don't know. I kind of want to give it 3 out of 4 stars, but because I'm still kind of like... I saw this last week, and I'm still kind of like debating about some of these things. I'll give it 2.5 out of 4 stars, stream it. There's some things that are worth it in this movie, like the acting and, the interpretation of events, but again, if you really love the trailer, you're just not going to love this movie. So, what do you think of The Last Duel? Also, what's your favorite movie by Ridley Scott? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.